Eternal Father, I enter the chamber of your presence, carrying the murmur of my concerns like one carrying a sea within. And I place this sea at your feet so that it may calm to the sound of your will. If your voice withdraws, if the trumpets fall silent, if the impressions diminish to almost nothing, receive this heart that still beats, still cries out, still longs to be ruled by your hand. Your holiness needs no trumpets to be majestic. Your sovereignty does not depend on strong winds to move mountains. Where my perception is exhausted, the territory of your absolute dominion begins, and it is in this territory that I prostrate myself. Guard me from the panic that mistakes pause for abandonment. Guard me from the anxiety that transforms every minute into a sentence. Guard me from the habit of measuring love by noise, presence by spectacle, direction by luminous signs. Teach me, Lord, to recognize your signature in that which does not vibrate in the light of my eyes, to welcome your voice when it chooses the shape of the breeze, to perceive your care in places where I see only ash. If you say, "Be still and know that I am God," take the muscle of my haste and relax it with your peace. Take the web of my thoughts and undo the knots I created trying to anticipate you. Take my internal clocks and align them with your eternity. When your silence falls over me like a veil, may this veil become clarity within. May the apparent night reveal itself to be the workshop of your spirit, hammer by hammer, polishing intentions, sanding vanities, warming faith until it shines. He receives my desire to listen and converts it into a desire to obey, even if obedience means remaining where I am, watering today's small garden of responsibilities with the simple water of fidelity. Take the plans I embraced for fear of falling behind and place them in the furnace of your judgment. If they are straw, let them burn. If they are gold, let them shine. If they are crooked iron, let them return to the fire until they become tools in your hands. If you do not speak with words, speak with your peace. If you do not aim with an arrow, push me with the gentleness of a river determining its course. If you do not open up light in the sky, make room in my chest to recognize the direction you have already designed. Bless the ground where my feet rest, for the ground consecrated by your will is a path, even when it seems like a waiting room. And in the waiting room of your kingdom there is bread, there is oil, there is enough breath for today. Remind me, Lord, of the times your stillness preceded a birth, of the times when calm was the womb of a miracle, of the times when the absence of noise matured me for what I would have wasted had I arrived too soon. May the memories of your faithfulness not become a museum, but a living sacrament. I touch them as one touches water, and this water cleanses me of the fear that makes me negotiate convictions. Where I sought guarantees, grant grace. Where I sought shortcuts, give me a pillar of cloud that prevents me from running ahead. Where I desired applause, remind me of the cross. Where love won without applause. Where the silence of a Saturday guarded the gestation of the resurrection. Your history teaches me that between promise and fulfillment there is a geography of trust, and I am willing to inhabit this geography without sightseeing in alleys of despair. May your already revealed word be a sufficient lamp for the next step, even if I long to see the entire road. May your immutable character be a map when all navigation systems fail. May your name, which is a strong tower, be a shelter when the news tries to dictate my compass. Purify, Lord, my hunger for signs, so that I do not turn the extraordinary into vice and the ordinary into contempt. The same God who parts the sea also lights a fire on the shore and prepares fish for weary friends. The same God who makes the earth tremble also speaks to Elijah in a whisper. I want to know you in every volume, honor you in every texture, follow you in the avenues and alleys. Free me from the need to guess the future and grant me the grace to sanctify the present. Free me from the vice of trying to finish your paragraphs before you lift your pen from the paper. and grant me wisdom to punctuate what you have already written with a point of obedience. Teach my heart to give a holy name to what presents itself as delay, to call discipline what my flesh calls absence, to call direction what my senses call silence. And if my tears fall, let them fall like seeds. If my voice fails, let silence pray. If my knees tremble, let the ground feel the weight of your glory supporting me beneath. Raise, Father, a table of trust in the valleys where the echo of your name seems distant. Place the cup of your presence within my reach so that I may drink unhurriedly, sipping your peace until I reach the marrow of my worries. May your presence, even if veiled, be sufficient for me to continue with goodness, justice, and mercy. For these are clear directions that your kingdom does not revoke while heaven remains silent. Where I wanted a map, give me a compass. Where I wanted a wide road, give me a path that fits one step at a time. Where I wanted speed, give me endurance. Where I wanted control, give me a heart entirely yours. Cover my spirit with the mantle of perseverance that does not trade convictions for quick answers. Calm the waters within, for he who calms the sea with words is the same one who calms the heart with presence. And if you didn't say today what I wanted to hear, you said yesterday what I still haven't obeyed. It gives me courage to return to the last clear command, which is to love, serve, forgive, be grateful in everything, wait without giving in to cynicism. Place watchmen on the doors of my thoughts, guards on the windows of my emotions, so that no invader of panic steals my lucidity. When fear paints false scenarios, shed light on the canvas and dispel the shadows with your truth. When doubt suggests shortcuts, show the narrow bridge of renunciation as the only safe path. When frustration spits embers, refresh yourself with the dew of your mercy, so that it does not set fire to the field of my relationship with you. You know how many conversations I rehearse in the wee hours of the morning, how many what-ifs I weigh, how many times I imagine answers that will give me peace. But peace cannot be bought with hypotheses. Peace is born of your lordship. Therefore I place my assumptions on your altar and ask for fire, to burn away what is excess, purify what is true, warm what is cold, illuminate what is confusing. Guard me from pride disguised as zeal. Guard me from self-pity disguised as sensitivity. Guard me from the logic that tries to tame your mystery. I don't want a life without mystery. I want a life with God, and the God I have is holy, free, wise, loving, and faithful. Before you, my thirst finds a spring, even if the spring manifests itself as a stillness that commands me to recognize you are God. In your presence, I receive the gift of waiting without breaking down. May waiting not make me hard, but gentle. May silence not make me skeptical, but reverent. May delay not make me apathetic, but diligent in what you have already placed in my hands. Teach me the art of remaining joyful, the science of doing good in the shadows, the liturgy of washing feet when no one is looking. If your guidance arises from insistent peace and not from sudden brightness, let me embrace it without demanding fireworks. If your confirmation comes through doors that remain closed, may I not break them down with arguments. If it comes through small windows that open, may I pass through with gratitude. Help me hear the rhythm of your providence in the small noises of the day, the kindness that arises without reason, the word that repeats itself from different mouths, the ancient text that shines anew, the embrace that restores breath, the peace that without explanation becomes heavier than all the reasons for fear. Make your silence a compass that points into your heart. Make your silence a beacon that does not blink but remains. Make your silence an invitation to the secret place where one learns not to negotiate identity with circumstances. And as I continue, Father, receive this praise that expects no applause, this adoration that seeks no stage, this surrender that counts no losses. You are sufficient to sustain the universe without uttering a syllable, and you are also sufficient to sustain my soul without my understanding your methods. Your grace does not work to my schedule, and I submit. Your goodness does not consult my urgencies, and I rest. Your wisdom does not negotiate with my anxieties, and I surrender. May my spirit incline to your be still. And in that incline, may I know the deepest truth. You are God. And because you are God, silence is direction, pause is care, interval is the cradle of purpose. Gather my life in your lap and mold it according to your Son, until my breath follows the rhythm of your love, and every step, however small, is a response to your presence. Amen. Most High, upon entering the precincts of your being, I encounter a pause that cannot be explained and yet molds me from within, like a potter who doesn't need to speak for the clay to know it is being touched. If your breath doesn't come like a gale, it comes like a breeze, heavy enough to bend the branch in the right direction. If I don't receive the sentence I await today, I recognize the movement of your hands in the invisible web that surrounds me, bonds that unravel without noise, doors that don't open because it would be too soon, steps I don't take because they don't belong to the itinerary you've designed for now. In the interval between one petition and another, you adjust the axis. In the gap where my reasoning becomes confused, you align the north. In the silence that frightens me, you rearrange the heart. Receive this restless being and write upon it the compass of your government. Disarm the architecture of my control that always raises another floor of anxiety. Tear down the scaffolding with which I try to reach answers by my own strength. Plant in the center of me a garden of trust where the sap is not a scream, but a scent. If my lips do not hear your timbre, may my bones feel your weight. If my eyes see no signs, may my guts welcome the certainty that I am not adrift. The space I call emptiness is actually a classroom. The time I call delay is a laboratory. The lack of noise is the stage where your dominion presents itself without fanfare and accustoms me to a hope that is independent of fireworks. Holy One, remove from me the temptation to make noise, to silence insecurity. How many times do I invent tasks you didn't give me? How many messages do I write without your anointing? How many strategies do I pull from my sleeve just to avoid facing the horizon where I see no signs? Let this horizon without signs educate me. In the wide sky of your will, the compass is the peace that persists when the lights go out. I entrust to you projects born of the fear of being forgotten, ideas that sprouted from the desire to prove worth, oaths I made to guarantee what cannot be guaranteed. Pass your hand over these papers and leave in the basket only what breathes your breath. If there are paths that seem promising but empty the soul, close them with kindness. If there are discreet paths, unapplauded but nourished with meaning, plant my feet on them. If there are places where my idols hide behind justifications, unmask them with your light. Teach me to recognize the melody of obedience that repeats simple notes, to do justice, to practice kindness, to walk humbly, to water day after day the small field you entrusted to me until it blooms in heaven's time. Do not allow me to confuse spectacle with direction. Do not disdain the ordinary, where your kingdom infiltrates and transforms like groundwater that sustains the entire forest. Eternal King, when you are silent, you correct the myopia with which I read life. I rely on clocks that count seconds as if they were promises, on predictions that grant me the illusion of dominion, on horns that give me the feeling of a task accomplished. You, however, present another time, dilated and secure, in which the root grows before a shoot appears. May the sap of this time flow within me. May I accept being a plant and not a showcase. If the day arrives with fog, do not let me create a sun with lamps. Grant me the grace to wait for the true dawn. If the stage calls for silence, Do not allow me to construct speeches to distract myself. Teach me to be silent with purpose, to listen without forcing interpretation, to feel the sweet weight of your dominion that does not need to be tested every minute. I thank you for the times you did not answer me as I asked, and by not answering me, you prevented me from losing my way. I thank you for the nights I went to the window and saw no change, and yet upon waking, the earth was watered with unheard dew. Your faithfulness ripens without trumpets. Your zeal calls no attention to itself. Your care dispenses applause. May I grow accustomed to your way of acting and become like it, calm, firm, gentle, whole. Father, who knows the underworld, visit the caverns where I've accumulated justifications, the galleries where twisted reasoning echoes, the basements where I store tools I would use if I decided to solve things for myself. Cover the dust of these rooms with your rain. Let this dust turn into malleable clay, and from this clay be born a new vessel useful for the Master's use. If there are windows hidden by curtains of fear, push them aside. If there are doors walled up by painful memories, reopen them. If there are corridors that lead to alleys of self-pity, close them definitively. And in the midst of these reforms, sustain me with the small lamp of what you have already revealed. Your word does not need to reinvent itself daily to guide me. It is an ancient and ever-living path that holds my steps when the landscape is unhelpful. May I not exchange this path for fads that promise shortcuts. May I not abandon what I know for curiosities that excite but do not nourish. May I not interpret your delay as disregard, but as polishing. When my imagination paints dark scenes, pour the oil of memory. Remind me of the tables prepared in places where I expected no table, of the still waters that appeared after arid seasons, of the reconciliations that could not have been forced, and, when they arrived, came with the flavor of a ripe miracle. These traces of kindness make a map when the compass trembles. Beloved, receive my unconditional adoration. If heaven keeps its secret, I praise your name for what it is, not for what it now gives me. I will sing of your constancy as one who recites their own surname. I will affirm your greatness until my throat understands that this is its office. I will raise my hands as one who signs a pact that does not depend on the mood of the waves. In this adoration, I do not ask for a shortcut. I ask for alignment. If the throne remains firm while the world rearranges itself, may my chest copy that steadfastness. If your gaze spans centuries without straying, may my eyes learn to fix on what sustains and not on what shines. If your decrees do not rush or delay, may my step be disciplined to walk at that same pace. I accept slowing down to gain meaning. I accept taking a back seat so that your will may be the plot. I accept exchanging my need for explanation for a love that believes, waits, endures, and begins anew. Make my adoration a well that never runs dry. May the bucket come down every day and return full, even if from the outside it seems like the same repeated action. The habit of exalting you builds a house within me, and in that house you dwell, occupying the rooms, decorating the walls with signs of your grace. Even when you don't speak, your smile in the paintings reminds me who rules. Lord, who raises and silences seas, work the muscles of my perseverance. There are muscles atrophied by haste. There are nerves fatigued by news that robs me of sobriety. There are wounds that erupt from within whenever a weight lengthens. Apply the ointment of your presence where it hurts. Place your hand where the palpitation betrays fear. Blow your breath where the rarefied air cannot reach. I do not ask for anesthesia. I ask for healing. I do not seek distraction. I seek restoration. I do not want to forget. I want to be transformed. This gives me the grace to revisit points of pain without drowning in them. It teaches me to recognize the learning hidden behind the prolongation. It takes away the bitterness that insists on reinterpreting everything as loss. Where frustration tries to write epitaphs, you write chapters. Where waiting seems like a dead-end corridor, you open skylights. May I honor these skylights, small bits of meaning that arrive through unexpected conversations, from an ancient text that burns anew, from a simple task that becomes a sacrament when done before you. If a request needs to remain on the ground longer, may I not stubbornly pick it up. May I simply guard the environment so that when it blooms in peace. God of tenderness, transform my way of asking. May supplication not become a bargain. May intercession not become a spectacle. May tears not become a weapon of manipulation against your will. I want to pray as one who trusts the character of the one listening, not as one trying to convince a reluctant judge. I come before you with the frankness of one who knows they add nothing to you and yet are welcomed, with the humility of one who recognizes that much still needs to be trimmed, with the boldness of one who has been adopted and therefore calls. Take my language and purify it of demands. Take my cry and drench it with gratitude. Take my silences and give them content, so that they may not be merely a surrender, but an offering. If it is necessary to lower the volume of all surrounding sounds so that your counsel may grow within, then lower it. If it is necessary for me to miss some opportunities so that I do not lose my vocation, let me lose them with joy. If it's time to remain with still hands and attentive eyes, may I remain. Daily fidelity is a temple, humble service is an altar, secret forgiveness is incense, contentment is a hymn. May I compose this hymn with the instruments you have already placed within me. Sovereign, perform the surgery that separates desire and attachment, faith and stubbornness, hope and illusion. Do not allow me to clothe with spirituality that which is only fear of the new. Do not let me call prudence the habit of hiding. Do not allow me to name zeal the desire to control what is not mine to control. I want maturity to distinguish your voice amid the echoes, your peace amid the euphoria, your counsel amid the opinions. If it is your sentence that I wait longer, sustain me so that this waiting produces meekness, spiritual intelligence, compassion for those who also wait. If it is your decision to open paths now, free me from rushing along them, filling every corner with my own mark. Grant me the serenity to advance, with hands washed of vanity and feet that do not crush the ground. May the fruits of this journey point not to my performance, but to your faithfulness. And if, at any moment, silence returns like a blanket, may I recognize it by its texture, the blanket that warms, not suffocates, the blanket that covers, not extinguishes, the blanket that teaches me to sleep on the boat while the waves are the talk of others. Beneath this blanket, my soul learns the rest that comes from recognizing your dominion. Gracious one, I place before you the names I love, the places I frequent, the tasks I undertake, the dreams I create. All of this can become noise if I don't hear you. All of this finds meaning when you are the center. Therefore, I weave, with the threads of everyday life, a prayer that sews me to you. Upon waking, I consecrate the first phrases. Upon working, I consecrate my intentions. Upon resting, I consecrate the thoughts that insist on continuing. Upon deciding, I consecrate my judgment. Make this fabric resist. May it not tear at the first tension. May it become clothing suitable for crossing the seasons. And as I walk, remind me of the river that flows even when the surface seems still, of the heart that beats even when I can't hear it, of the sun that travels even when the light is hidden by dense clouds. Your activity, when you choose silence, never ends. You sow encounters, you mature processes, you protect from precipices, you guard against traps. The wings of your love support the stage where I live. The workshop of your wisdom prepares the piece I will wear in the next phase. I trust these behind the scenes. I trust this workshop. I trust the director who doesn't need to explain every scene to produce something good. And as I close this part of the supplication, I once again place my trust in that which will not be shaken, your reign. May my decisions, words, and gestures be shaped by the stillness born of acknowledging your lordship. May each breath learn to rest in the steadfastness of your name. May the path ahead, visible or not, become clarity within before it becomes clarity without. So I follow, unhurriedly and without giving up, with my eyes fixed on your face and my heart attuned to your peace, converting each pause into direction and each silence into trust. Father of mercies, before the veil that rests soundlessly between question and answer, I bend my whole heart as one who lays down arms and removes boots to step onto sacred ground. If heaven remains silent, you do not keep your distance. If the answer does not descend in flashes, you do not leave me orphaned by your gaze. There is a way of yours that ripens like fruit hidden among leaves, a way of leading that needs no noise to change the direction of the wind. I surrender to this discreet government. Take the fever that drives me to fill gaps with inventions. Gather the zeal that, without your hand, becomes anxiety disguised as courage. Silence the megaphones that instill panic within, and return me to the rhythm of the peace that comes from you. If no word is spoken over my waters, may the waves recognize the presence that already sustains them. If no gate creaks on its hinges, may I know how to honor the door of daily fidelity, crossing what you have already entrusted to me with reverence. Teach me to recognize invisible instructions, those that arrive as stillness when I consider paths, those that manifest as inner resistance when I try to violate time, those that shine as simple conviction in the place where I long for a complete map. You contemplate the whole that my eyes cannot reach. You hold points I never even knew existed. You guard from precipices that my haste calls shortcuts. Therefore, I surrender the center to you. May every intention be filtered by your truth. May every step be measured by your peace. May every silence be translated as care. Holy One, before you I acknowledge the noise I created to negotiate with fear. In my eagerness for assurances, I made speeches, multiplied signs, collected opinions, like someone collecting keys to doors that didn't belong to me. Today I leave the bundle on your altar. If the key that opens is simple obedience, teach me how to use it. If the lock that locks me is pride, undo it. If the corridor is narrow, strengthen my knees. I want the pause to become a school, but I will not repeat ancient words like a mantra that tries to control the mystery. I want the pause to become an alliance. The heart learns to be, to love, to serve without timers. If there are desires that insist on occupying the throne, lower them with your hand. If there are fears that sabotage rest, expel them with your light. If there are memories that rewrite your character with dark ink, wash them with the living memory of the cross, where your love spoke enough for all my nights. There, the stillness of the tomb was not a surrender, it was the perfect plot of your victory. Thus, I also receive the Saturdays of my soul, periods when nothing seems to move, and yet your purpose adjusts the beams, rearranges the fibers, aligns the structure to support the Sunday to come. Grant me the meekness to accept that not every silence demands an explanation. Many silences call for trust and hands occupied with good. Eternal King, you guide like a weaver who knows the finished image and holds each thread. My days are lines that, up close, seem chaotic, but under your gaze intertwine into meaning. The reverse of the weave confuses me. The right you prepare sustains me. I offer you this fabric in progress, the knots I tied trying to hasten the figure, the loose stitches of abandonment, the parts worn by empty repetitions. Pass your firm hand over them. When your silence falls, it is not disinterest, it is the artist's concentration. You blow dust from ancient looms and show that the design requires breaks so as not to break. Work then, my way of waiting, not as one who stands idly by, but as one who works on what is due, returning to simple duty, making room in the schedule for the unexpected of your grace, learning to bless those you place beside. If the compass points to hidden service, let me not treat it as punishment, but as an altar. If the direction is downward to gain depth, protect me from the temptation of performance. If the arrow disappears, leave in my chest the magnet of your presence, which pulls the metal of each decision in the right direction. And above all, purify ambition. May I not seek paths to display results, but to bear fruit that endures. Father, there is a whisper of urgency in this century that tries to dictate the rhythm of the heart. Screens demand answers in minutes, voices compete for attention, news creates storms. Give me holy exile, where your voice sets the pace. It puts fences around my thoughts, so that the imagination doesn't feed monsters. It sets watchmen at the door of my heart, so that no harsh word finds a home. It places your hand on my shoulders and teaches me the breath of rest. If the ground shakes, may my feet find the same rock as always. If my vision blurs, may the ancient word, living and effective, once again be the window through which light enters. If emotions waver, may gratitude become an anchor, not as a romantic escape, but as a faithful reading of what you have already accomplished. It reminds me of the well opened in the desert, of that unexpected table on a grey afternoon, of the embrace that arrived when hope was starving. Not because I live on memories, but because the God who made it is the God who is. Your character is the road that never changes beneath my feet. The thoughts you have about me are more stable than the seasons that revolve about me. Lord, also visit the internal geographies where I deposit arguments, where reason disguises itself as unbelief. Refine it until it becomes wisdom. Where emotion tries to guide the chariot, apply the reins of sobriety. Where the will arms itself with justifications, surrender it with the beauty of your will. Do not leave me hostage to formulas. If I do this, then you will answer me. If I say that, then I will have direction. Free me from turning prayer into commerce. Restore in me the awe of a child who enters the Father's room, not to negotiate, but to live together. If living together today means listening to the background music of your government and not the solo of your voice, may I dance anyway. If living together is enduring the desert while watering the small plants, may I water them with joy. If living together is washing feet when I expected to wash stained glass, may my hands find honor in tasks that do not appear. Your glory does not need the spotlight to shine. She often bends over pots, sheets, spreadsheets, discrete commitments, and there, without noise, she makes life a cult. Living God, accept the renunciation I place before you. I renounce the right to understand all the whys. I renounce the vice of pushing doors that your peace keeps closed. I renounce the rush to resolve with technique what only maturity can resolve. I ask you for the science of patience, not the patience of idle waiting, but the patience that prays, serves, intercedes, builds, asks for forgiveness, reconciles, and learns anew. If the direction for now is to love those who are difficult, confirm me with fresh mercies. If the direction is to be silent so that the other may be heard, grant me humility. If the direction is to speak so that the oppressed may find a voice, place burning coals in my mouth and measure the length of my sentences. If it is time to plant in hard ground, harden the hoe and soften my pride. If it is time to harvest, guard my heart from applause. If it is night, give me the lantern of hope that mocks no one. Do not let me fall into the religion of results. Reaffirm in me the religion of relationship, knowing you, receiving you, following you, even when the route has no signs. Beloved, when your stillness weakens my defenses and I realize I am small, do not allow me to flee to distractions that return noise without giving meaning. Draw me to the place where fragility becomes a door to grace. There, without spectacle, pride disarms. There, without an audience, neediness is named. There, without a mask, shame is covered by love. Let this wordless encounter rewrite me, As I rise, may I carry fewer thorns and more balm. As I speak, may my voice bring less haste and more healing. As I act, may my gestures lift the fallen, not statistics. If today's silence prepares tomorrow's encounters, prepare me for them. Broad shoulders to share the burden, attentive eyes to find those who have always been far away, open hands to share bread and listen. The direction I seek may be called compassion. The path I ask for may be called fidelity. The road I long for may begin where I stop demanding that everything make sense. Sovereign, also receive the dreams I have harbored. Prune where there is excess, widen where there is narrowness, replace where there is fantasy. If the plan was to build towers, transform them into houses where there is a table. If the aspiration aimed at stages, divert it to bridges. If the will wanted to prove its worth, encourage it to bestow its worth. Only thus does your reign clothe the ordinary days. And if at some point your voice echoes clearly again, may I find myself with a clean tool in my hand and a knee trained to bend, able to respond without bargaining. I will not be taken by surprise, because your silence will have already prepared my nerves, my convictions, my tenderness, and my discernment. Meanwhile, watch my steps. May each choice pass through the sieve of Scripture, through the confirmation of peace and the usefulness of love. Where there is doubt between two goods, incline me to that which glorifies you most. Where there is a struggle between two noises, gather me to hear what endures. And so I continue, guarded by the God who never abandons the work of his hands. If nothing stirs on the outside, much is aligned within. If the heavens for a moment remain silent, the earth of the heart is ploughed, sown, watered. There is a fruit that is born unhurriedly, meekness, quiet joy, trust that does not negotiate, the courage to begin anew. In this gestation, I rest. I do not abandon my cry. I place it in your hands and continue doing good, hoping in your love, embracing your peace that surpasses understanding and governs me as a constant beacon. And while the world turns, I keep my gaze fixed on the face of the sun, where all the words I need to hear are one, presence. Amen. Holy God, I reach the threshold of this part as one returning from the desert with sand in my shoes and clearer eyes, realizing that your stillness is not a vacuum, but a furnace that tempers metal. If the answers didn't come with thunder, they came with a firmness that doesn't waver, a peace that resists questions and calls me into your heart. I gather the shards of my haste, the plans I tried to glue together with the glue of anxiety, and lay everything before your gaze that pierces and heals. There were fears hidden beneath polished arguments. There were ambitions perfumed with devotion. There were wounds begging for expression, and I covered them with noise. When the lights went out, I perceived your patient gesture, tidying the house inside, removing heavy furniture, opening windows to an air I didn't know. Your way of acting became direction when I stopped asking for light and accepted the compass of your kingdom. If you ask me today what I desire, I answer, I want to prefer your will where my desires try to dictate. I want to choose the good that doesn't appear when vanity demands a display. I want to walk the narrow path where love decides before emotion. The time I called delay turned out to be a time of roots, and the roots found water in rock. Keep me in this fertile subterranean where the sap works without spotlights and the fruits already begin to promise a season. You know the engineering of the soul, the length of the beams and the weight each wall supports. Where I would erect scaffolding, you design foundations. Where I would ask for ornaments, you adjust angles. My life is only beautiful when it is secure, and it is only secure when your dominion sustains it. Therefore, if your voice chooses intervals, may the intervals make me whole. If your counsel circulates like a river beneath the earth, may I learn to identify the moisture under the soles of my feet and follow. If your hand writes without ink, may I recognize calligraphy by the shape of peace. I don't need all the maps when I carry the compass of your character. I don't need all the signs when I remember that no desert limits you. I don't need all the guarantees when I discover that the name engraved upon me is belonging. The direction I ask for feels more and more like fidelity, this simple act of dawn saying, "Here I am," and dusk saying, "Thank you," even if nothing has changed on the outside. Teach me then to repeat what heaven never tires of: mercy in place of judgment, kindness where harshness offers itself, humble silence where vanity wants speech, gentle courage where cowardice dresses prudence. If your silence was a school, may I emerge from it with diplomas that only heaven recognizes, meekness that holds the tongue before impulse, hope that does not lend the heart to bitterness, obedience that needs no audience to continue. Grant me trained eyes to recognize your passage in small details, the phrase repeated by different mouths, the ancient text that ignites in a new way, the common task that, done with you, becomes a sacrament. Where I once asked for shortcuts, today I ask for persevering feet. Where I demanded speed, today I ask for direction. Where I sought control, today I ask for communion. I do not deny that the flesh still throbs, that the mind still fabricates futures to protect itself, that fear still tries to negotiate clauses with heaven. But when this chorus begins, may another melody overtake it, the song of your government, which intones over troubled waters the word that reorders chaos. I do not need to repeat formulas. I need to recognize your pulse in events, even when events seem silent. It is possible to follow a beat that is not heard with the ears, but with the heart that has surrendered. I remember, faithful God, the times when doors didn't open, and then I thanked you for keeping my life from bright corridors that ended in shadow. The times when an immediate no was a yes to my maturity. The days when a small window was enough to ventilate the house. These memories are bricks that hold up the roof on a cloudy day. Don't let me live on memories, but allow them to be witnesses against despair when it tries to take over. Upon them, I build an altar of gratitude. Gratitude for your way of shaping me without breaking me. Gratitude for inviting me to rest that doesn't exile me from responsibility. Gratitude for correcting my course with a father's hand, not a tyrant's rod. Gratitude for entrusting me with people when I asked only tasks of you. Gratitude for making room for regrets that refresh like powdered rain. With this grateful heart, I accept the seasons as part of the journey. There is a time to yield, a time to insist, a time to be silent, a time to speak. And for each hour, give me the discernment that matches your wisdom. I also come with the list of names and faces that rest in my intercession. May this silence that educated me become a sending forth to them. Wherever there is a disorganized home, may I bring a peace that organizes. Wherever there is weeping without embraces, may I be a shoulder that supports. Wherever there is hunger not only for bread, but for meaning, may I share what I have received. Direction is not just about geography, it is about people. Make me a bridge, not a platform. Make me a table, not a display case. If your spirit whispers to cross the street and listen to someone, may I cross. If it invites me to erase the message that would prove my point, may I erase it. If it moves me to visit someone who has hurt me, may I go barefoot so as not to harm the ground. If it inspires me to learn a simple craft to serve better, may I not disregard humility with excuses. The stillness you taught must become a spring. May I not withhold water. Direction usually arises when generosity overcomes calculation. Let me try this arithmetic of the kingdom, in which dividing is multiplying and adding is sharing. I'm not unaware of the hunger for control that throbs behind my ribs. It dresses itself in zeal, but it's actually a fear of losing my center. Today, I hand the wheel once again to the one who always knew how to guide me, even when I was trying to chart better routes. If the road gets tight, give me short steps that don't trip. If the scenery changes, give me the necessary detachment not to idolize landscapes. If storms come, give me memories of previous crossings, when a command from you reorganized the winds. And if for some stretch guidance remains only as a peace that doesn't yield, may this peace have more authority in me than any urgency. Don't let me be kidnapped by the voice of one who speaks loudly. I accustom myself to recognizing the voice of the one who reigns. And how does he reign? By dressing on duty, dismantling thrones of ego, washing weary feet. This is how I want to move forward. Without wanting to measure impact, but by measuring fidelity, without needing to prove myself right, but by proving kindness, without imposing rhythm, but learning yours. You know the crossroads that await me, and the intersections where the traffic of expectations honks. Prepare me to stand still when the inner light turns red, and to cross when the peace within turns green. Mark with your word this ancient road that does not deteriorate. Confirm with wise counsel from people you use as signposts. Correct with the providence that closes doors to save from precipices. May I not blame fate when it is care that holds me back. May I not call luck what is signed by grace. May I not explain as chance what is providence. And when doubt places me between two goods, incline me to the one you love most. Between two possible paths, move me to the one that serves most. Between two discourses, silence me until love can speak for me. Silence has trained my muscles for renunciation. I do not want to lose it at the first applause. Hold the reins of your tongue and gestures until the truth comes out clean. Justice is not attacked and mercy is not ashamed. I also place on your altar the old guilts that sometimes resurrect to negotiate my joy. Do not allow them to become a hidden break. Your grace was not temporary, your cross was not alone, your forgiveness is not conditional. When the shadow comes, point to the ancient and unchanging light that embraces me each day. Free from this weight, I walk lightly, not to forget who I was, but to remember who I am with you. And this with you is direction. Without him I run, with him I press on. Without him I improvise, with him I build. Without him I shout, with him I breathe. Your presence is a beacon that does not blink, a rope that does not break, a table that does not collect the bread. Beneath this light I rest even when the work is heavy. Beneath this rope I cross ravines. Before this table I share without fear of scarcity. If this stretch of pilgrimage is long, support your knees from within. Stretch the capacity to wait without losing tenderness. Expand the ability to listen without preparing a response. Strengthen the habit of giving thanks before seeing. And when the day comes, when your voice rises again over the waters, may it find me awake with a lit lamp, clean utensils, and affection available. Not to compensate for delays I invented, but to continue life in that cadence heaven designed. Work with dignity, rest with confidence, celebration without idolatry, lament without despair. This is how your reign enters the hours, and the hours in turn weave a story worth telling not for its deeds, but for the faithfulness of who you are. Finally, before what I do not know, I exalt you for who you are. Before what I do not see, I adore you for what you have already done. Before what I do not feel, I offer you what I choose. Trust. May the last word of my days be a silent acknowledgement that can still be heard far and wide. Dominion is yours. When the inner waters try to rise, remember this decree. When unwelcome news knocks at the door, reread this decree. When weariness tells another story, rewrite it with this decree. And so I continue, not as one who dominates, but as one who is led. Not as one who demands, but as one who receives. Not as one who demands, but as one who loves. Your care does not sleep, and I retreat. Your throne does not tremble, and I am still. Your love does not negotiate, and I rest. Direction was born from stillness and became a road. On this road, my soul learns the verb of the kingdom: trust, serve, hope, love. And between each verb, a pause that no longer frightens, because in it I find you. Amen.